Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album Wars. Today, we've got two prog rock classics, gems, legends, you might call them, the bands and the albums. One's from 1972. It was that band's fourth release. The other one a year later in 73, their fifth release. We are talking about Genesis, Foxtrot, that very cool Paul Whitehead album cover, and King Crimson's menacing and dark Larks, Tongues, and Aspic. So, two beloved albums by many, yours truly included. I'm a huge fan of both of these bands and both of these albums. One, however, is a lot more special to me and gets an easy win here, but that's not meant to take away anything from the other because the other is a dynamite album. So, let's talk about each one. So let's start off with this album here. So this one follows up, Genesis to Revelation, their first album. Then they released Trespass, which is kind of the beginning of the formation of the classic Genesis sound as we would know it. Anthony Phillips is out. Steve Hackett's in for Nursery Crime less than a year later. Okay. Seminal prog rock album, and then comes this gem. So what makes this one so special? Well, starts off at Watcher of the Skies, right? I mean, doesn't get much better than that. Creepy Mellotron and Hammond organ, right? Just an awesome song, made even better live, where Peter Gabriel on vocals would don like the bat costume, right? Really give it a creepy vibe. Excellent song. Timetable, Get 'Em Out by Friday, another kind of the very up-tempo prog rock classic track right there. Can Utility and the Coastliners, gorgeous tune. Horizons, little short snippet tune there. And then, of course, the massive epic Supper's Ready. One of the greatest lengthy prog rock epics ever, in my opinion, in the history of prog rock. This one clocks in at just under 23 minutes long. It's got lots of different movements and shades. It's powerful. It's pastoral. Everything that Genesis did so well included in that song. A great performance from Peter Gabriel on this album. You've got the great bass playing and Taurus bass pedals and 12-string guitar from Michael Rutherford. You've got Steve Hackett's unique but awesome guitar skills on electric and acoustic guitars. And of course, you got Tony Banks and his banks of keyboards, right? So you've got Moog synthesizers and Mellotrons and Hammond organ, electric piano, all sorts of other stuff he used on here, as well as the nimble, incredible drum skills of Phil Collins, who also added a little bit of vocals on here as well. A great album, as is this one. All right. So King Crimson, of course, bust out of the gate in the late 60s with the Chord of the Crimson King. They followed that up with In the Wake of Poseidon. Then you've got the Lizard and the Islands, and then this beast, which, if you were a King Crimson fan at the time, you were getting pretty used to the fact that the lineup would kind of get almost completely overhauled with each and every album. That was no different here. So this brought about what many believe is the kind of classic, or at least the beginnings of the classic King Crimson formation. So you got Robert Fripp on guitar and Mellotrons. You got John Wetton on bass and vocals. You got Bill Bruford, fresh over from Yes, on drums. Okay, you got Jamie Muir on percussion. And you've got David Cross on violin and Mellotrons. So what do we got on this album? You've got, bookending the album, are the equally incredible, but each one totally different, Larks, Tongues, and Aspic, parts 1 and parts 2. Doesn't get much better than that. Just for that, those two tracks alone, worth the price of admission. You got the Book of Saturday, mourning, creepy, just kind of emotional tune. A lot of great violin work from Mr. Cross on this album. Then you got Exiles. Again, creepy, ominous type stuff. The Heavy Rock and Easy Money, okay, which is a great kind of rampage in tune with this really cool long middle section that's got, intricate bass and guitar stuff floating around and jabbing around each other. You got the Mellotron, all sorts of really cool stuff. Great album. And then, of course, great song, I should say. Then, of course, you got the talking drum. Another kind of slow builder, ominous, kind of creepy track. A lot of that on this album. And a lot of that with this lineup of King Crimson, who did a lot of really cool, almost improv type stuff, improvisations and little bits of jam and little bits of kind of avant-garde and free jazz in there. It's cacophonous, it's dissonant, but it's classic King Crimson. And then, of course, finishing out the album is Larks Tongues and Aspic Part 2. Great stuff. This happens to be the remaster, reissue, remix, okay, with the DVD. It's the whole, for the 40th anniversary? Yeah, the 40th anniversary series that they put out. Fantastic stuff. So which one gets my vote? Okay? Well, like I said, they're both absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome, without a doubt. Unfortunately for one, the other is one of my favorite albums of all time and progressive rock albums of all time by one of my favorite prog bands of all time. Can you guess? And for all you keep saying, I almost put on a shirt from one of these bands this morning and said, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm not giving anything away. So I didn't. I went neutral today, picked a little Stand Up by Tull. But anyway, the winner here for me, and again, not by a hell of a lot, but this album that's going to win here means so much to me. That's this one right here. Okay, for those of you who know me, been following the show for a while, you know I'm a huge fan of Gabriel, or the 70s Genesis in general, and this is my favorite Genesis album. It's also one of my favorite prog albums of all time. You know why? I mean, it's like, if you go top to bottom, this album might be more consistently great. However, this has Watcher of the Skies, Get 'Em Out by Friday, Can Utility and the Coastliners, and Supper's Ready. Doesn't get much better than that. For me, all those tunes, probably surpass anything on here. But again, your mileage may vary. You may find this album far superior, and that's cool. But I bet you most of you love them both, right? That's not hard to do here, because they're both just so great. And, I could have done a battle with any Genesis or King Crimson album from the 70s, but I kind of picked these two because these are probably my favorites from both, or close to it, at least when this. I like a lot of Crimson. Quite a bit. You could have put this up. You could have had Red. Could have had the debut album, right? So, a lot of great ones in that time period. But I felt this would be a good battle. But for me, it really doesn't matter what goes against this. This is probably going to win. So here we have a unanimous decision, 116-112, going by boxing scoring. The winner, Genesis Foxtrot from 1972. Let us know your choice in the comments and feedback section below. By the way, two great Mellotron albums, huh? A lot of cool Mellotron on both these albums. And we are still going to do that greatest Mellotron albums show sometime in the near future. I know I've been talking about that for months and months and months. But one of these days I do want to do a show where I pull out like my maybe top 20 or top 25 albums that featured the Mellotron, a great interesting kind of vintage instrument, kind of a keyboard, right? It's more like a kind of like a tape library sort of thing, but added some really cool sounds to a lot of classic prog albums from the 70s and even some more recent times. So anyway, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on Mighty YouTube as often as possible. Go to our Facebook page today. You can vote on these two albums. Pick your winner. It's going to just went live today, so cast your vote. People are already doing that. Also, let us know in the comments and feedback below. I'd be interested to see what some of you think. If you agree with me, cool. If you don't, you like this one better, that's cool too, because they're both great. There's no right or wrong answer here. Both fantastic albums. So we'll see you tomorrow with more stuff. Take care. Don't go away. Tell your friends. Subscribe, and we'll be back real soon. Bye-bye.